life version of him.
I'm showing you that the morality that Jesus is teaching in the Gospels is not the way that you're purporting it. It actually is completely relevant because in
It's a
Matthew,
totally different
when he
fucking
gives
book,
a
dude.
literalist understanding of
What?
the
Okay,
law.
yeah, but no, it's very plain here. Jesus replied, "And why do you break the command of God for the sake of your tradition? Your tradition is to not kill unruly kids, but it's obvious that the tradition of God is to kill unruly kids. So you're
right, let's pull that
disobeying
up.
God."
Well, and real quick,
Let's
because
pull that
Bryce, you can speak to this more than
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
can. But after I say this, please talk about how the apostolic succession works in Orthodoxy and how we actually have a normative authority to tell us what Jesus currently wants for us right now. But either way, since the topic of the debate is which is better for society, Christian ethics or secular ethics, can you give me an example of a Christian today who stones their children for being unruly?
Andrea Yates, not for being unruly, but because she thought God told her to do it.
So that's not an example of somebody stoning her child for being unruly.
Well, thankfully, most modern Christians are better than their own Bible. They recognize that the Bible is a horrible book with really bad ideas. And
Most
even
Christians,
Jesus seemed
No,
to
they
realize
just
that in the
understand
book
the
of
age of the
John
prophet.
too, when he
See, like, what an idiot! Like Jed, he's one of these. He's like, I don't know, dude. This guy's slimy as well. They all try to present themselves as they're like really smart and intelligent, but he's really slimy. Imagine saying, "Well, most Christians recognize that the Bible is full of horrible ideas." Like, what the hell are you talking about? That's where we get all the ideas from. Godless engineer. There you go. That's his name. Oh, goddess engineer. He has a secret identity, a super Bible scholar named Brosephus. That's funny.
said that he who's without sin should cast the first stone. But I mean, the whole notion of covenant.
That's like one of these like non-Christians, like that's like their go-to. Like they think the Bible just said love thy neighbor, and he who has not he who has not committed sin cast the first stone, or he who is without sin should cast the first stone. That's like only quotes that they use. So it's just like pretty much they cherry pick the parts of the Bible where it tells them, hey, don't judge other people, and hey, be nice to people. But it's only nice to the people that they want you to be nice to, or don't judge the people that they don't want you to judge. Very cherry picky.
Theology to me makes no sense. So some rules in the Old Testament stay the same, but then some of them are changed. But then for any rule that isn't specifically mentioned, how do we tell whether they stay the same or not?
Well, considering that in the Old Testament, they lived under a theocracy in Israel, and that in the New Testament, they were still under a sort of theocracy where they had their own rule under King Herod, where they could follow their own rules. They didn't have to follow all the rules of Rome, right? But the fact is that they can't, it's not the same to live in a country that is not a theocracy and to carry out certain rules. Now, is there a way that one could make an argument that if we wanted a theocracy, then the death penalty would apply to situations like that? Yes, there is. But that's not what Jesus doesn't want a theocracy on earth. It's not what he came for.
Okay, so I wanted to address, by the way, Matthew 15, since you wanted to try to use that to show that we're supposed to apparently kill our children. So if you actually read verse 1, when it says, then some Pharisees and teachers of the law came to Jesus from Jerusalem and said, why do your disciples break the tradition of the elders? They don't wash their hands before they eat. Then Jesus said, well, why do you break the command of God where it says that we're supposed to put our kids to death? But you say that if anyone declares what might have been used to help their father or mother is devoted to God, they are not to honor their mother or father with it. Thus, you then nullify the word of God for the sake of your tradition, you hypocrites. Isaiah was right when he prophesied about you. And then it says, these people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They worship in vain, and their teachings are merely human rules. So when he's actually quoting it in verse 1, when the Jews are like, hey, this guy didn't wash his hands. Like, what the heck, man? The law says we can't do that. And Jesus is like, yeah, and the law also says that you're supposed to stone your children. What about it? That's literally what he does. So, like, how is that actually us affirming that position?
Yeah, I mean, I can easily point to the part in, I believe
So,
it's either Matthew or Luke where Jesus says,
Bro,
"Not
I'm
a
talking
jot or
about
tittle
Matthew.
of the law." Hold
Yeah.
on, I included Matthew in that. Not a jot or tittle will be erased from the law until heaven and earth pass away. So basically, yeah, I mean, he reaffirms all the Old Testament stuff. But to go
No, he
back to
doesn't.
the
No,
cases,
that-
yeah, I mean, that's exactly what
I can actually give you a historical position of that because you're wrong.
Oh,
Completely
I
wrong.
really don't care about what you think about the
Okay, so you
historical
just
position.
make
I think
claims
no,
to
I
it.
think that it's really funny though that y'all appealed to a
Dude.
story in John that was added like much later to the Gospel of John
Again,
in order to make your points. Here.
Another random claim that's relevant to the debate. We're talking about
No,
ethics,
I mean,
by the way,
y'all-
not about
y'all-
whether or
y'all
not Christianity is true. What if I
Y'all
just
deviated.
concede that
Y'all
Christianity
deviated
itself
away
is
from
false?
what I was
I
talking
can
about
still show
earlier
that it's
by
better for
bringing up
society.
Khan. So
Yeah, see, Bryce J using the Andrew Wilson thing, because it's absolutely correct. Like Andrew Wilson would say, even if I can concede that everything about Christianity is false in terms of the Bible and the events in the Bible and stuff like that, how can you make the argument that Christian ethics is wrong? And they can't. But that's always the atheist go-to is prove to me now God real. Now have them show up waving in that webcam and say, hey guys, I'm God, look at me, I'm real. And if you can't do that, well, then you guys lose and I win. But good thing this is about Christian ethics and secular ethics, because yeah, they can't get away with that argument.
I brought up, that point. Now to
That
address
point is
Wi-Fi
irrelevant to the
gospels,
debate. This is an
Yeah.
ethics
To
debate.
bring-
It has nothing to
to
do with the
address-
truth of Christianity. Do you
to
understand?
address Wi-Fi gospels,
Thank you.
ask about the children that are killed. Michael Pearl is a
Oh yeah, where godless engineer rage quit because Jim Bob told him to shut his wife up. And he's like, man, I can't handle this debate no more. I gotta go do something right now. Bye.
very prevalent child abuser that teaches other people to abuse children. You've got Hannah Grace
Well,
Rose in
that doesn't answer my
2011.
question.
Your question was about what Christians
Show me
have
a Christian.
killed their unreal. Right,
Yes.
Hannah Grace Rose Williams,
And
2011.
What
Hannah
did she
Williams,
do?
a 13-year-old Ethiopian adoptee, died of hypothermia and malnutrition. Her adopted parents,
doesn't sound like
Larry and
stoning.
Carrie Williams, regularly beat her with a 15-inch plastic tube recommended by Pearl, forced her to sleep in a barn, basically contributing to her death. Yeah, sure, that's not stoning, but it's definitely using Christian ethics in order to kill a child. There's Lydia Schatz in
And how is that Christian
2010,
ethics?
Sean
Christian
Paddock, 2006.
Can you answer the question? How is
How's
that
that
Yeah,
Christian
Mike,
ethics?
read Michael Pearl's
No,
slot
no,
that,
I'm asking you.
How's
Yeah.
that Christian ethics?
how's
Well,
that
God
Christian ethics?
specifically says to slaughter your children if they disobey or curse your parents. Exodus 21:17.
Yeah,
No.
and regarding that thing with the law, when Jesus says, and this also says this in Matthew 15, the whole
Yeah, he already gave him the
aspect of
context.
saying like that these people would be put to death. Jesus was trying to make it clear that when it comes to certain things that were happening in the law, that a lot of people were not actually practicing things the way that they were intended. That's the entire point of verse 1 when he says he didn't wash his hands, and then he's like, well, you don't apparently kill your children.
Sure.
And
So, I mean,
and
like
do
that's
you
not
know where
him
the
literally-
doctrine?
that's not him supporting killing your children.
Do you know where the
He's
doctrine
literally-
of
it's
2 or 3
rhetorical.
witnesses comes from?
What was the question? Why?
Do you know what the doctrine of 2 or 3 witnesses come from? Why we need witnesses today in court?
Well, the 2 or 3 witnesses thing, there's a verse in the Old Testament, I can't cite you the passage, but it says if 2 people say the same claim, then you can go ahead and kill somebody based on 2 testimonies.
Well, the correct understanding of that is that you can't just take your child and say, my child's not listening to me, so I'm going to drown them in a bathtub and beat them until they die.
Right?
That's
You have
not
to have
Christian
2 people
ethics.
say that the child's not listening, and then you can go ahead and drown them.
No, you have to have independent lines of witness, and especially for a stoning, stonings were community events. You didn't just stone somebody in your backyard, you brought them to the town square. So
Doesn't that
none of
sound fun. A good old
nothing-
Christian gathering where you stone your children.
A good old, also, by the way, these situations that you brought up about these people like beating their children to death and stuff like that. Did they actually do that because they thought that was Christian ethics?
Yes,
Really? Which one?
Michael Pearl's.
Michael Pearl's killed his child because of what again? I'm gonna look this up.
No. Michael Pearl wrote a book to train up a child that talks about subduing a child for Christ and beating them into submission.
Which one? What is the
Now-
book called?
Huh? To train
What's the
up a
book called?
child.
To train up a child?
Well, I just want to point out that what you guys seem to be doing is trying to do an internal critique, or I'm actually not quite sure what you're trying to do. If you're trying to do an internal critique, I'm not sure you're getting anywhere. If you're
Well,
trying to do an
Christianity-
external critique, hold on. If you're trying to do an external critique, I like to ask which one you're doing. If you're trying to do an external critique, I'd like for you to actually provide a moral theory in which you're calling these things bad.
I feel like that should be a knock against you because you're trying to get us into tag.
No, that has absolutely nothing to do with tag. I'm not. You can provide any moral theory you want, and I will grant you the meta-ethical level of this moral theory. Completely fine. But just because you have an arbitrary meta-ethical level of a theory doesn't mean that the theory itself is consistent with you calling these things bad. So it's not
Yeah,
off
I
topic.
mean, I believe that Jed laid it out before that we're going with secular humanism as our grounding there.
And what part of secular humanism says you can't beat your children?
I feel like doing the least amount of harm would suffice.
If it was objectively proven that beating your children would cause them less harm in the near, but way greater, better positive results in the future, would it then be okay?
No, it
Yes,
wouldn't, because
but
that's
studies show the exact opposite. Research shows
Right.
that beating your children and physical punishment is actually a detriment to
Okay.
child development.
So that was a hypothetical. So you
Yeah,
answered
and I
it
answered
correctly.
yes.
Yes.
If
Okay.
if beating your children was actually good for them, then I would say, yeah, I agree with it. But studies show that beating your
But
children and
studies.
physical punishment is actually detrimental to their well-being and their
See,
development.
that's called a loaded question. You
No, it's a
probably
hypothetical. It's to
go and
test
look
your
that up.
logic.
Loaded.
No,
Okay, so-
right.
so you
Yeah,
guys
but
base
it was
everything-
loaded.
So you guys do base everything then with the secular humanism. Do you guys follow the secular humanist manifesto?
I don't
mean,
follow it
I-
to a T. Like I said, I don't believe it's gospel. I don't give my ultimate authority over it to it, but
Yeah.
I think it's mostly good.
Your soul
Right,
brain.
it's a good
your
it's a good
soul brain.
foundation to build off of.
Okay. So again, you guys use your principle as the harm principle, though, right? Like that's the ultimate foundation for describing something as good or bad.
I think it's pretty reasonable to me. Yeah, harm is bad, well-being is good.
Okay. So how do we determine whether or not something is harmful?
Well, there's a couple fundamental principles that we need to establish. One is that life is preferable to death, pleasure is preferable to pain, joy is preferable to sadness, health is better than sickness. So once we can agree on those, then it's pretty easy to see, stabbing someone in the face is bad for their well-being.
Well, I mean, all of those
I would-
situations, except for the last one, I would honestly argue can be demonstrated on the contrary with a lot of different types of people. So I'm not really sure how that actually is somehow your universal foundation for goodness.
Well, I mean, you can actually look at the
Why is but why is life preferable to death? Like according to atheists, why is life important if we're just all a bunch of meat sacks, or if we're just animals, if we're just animals like every other animal, then why are our lives important at all? Like, why should we preserve life if we're just like, dogs or cats or tigers or bears or something, or fish? Like, if we're just another animal here on the planet, why are our lives important? Why is it important to preserve our life? It doesn't mean anything. And you could say, well, because it causes people harm or something. Like, yeah, but okay, like we cause animals harm. We kill animals to eat them. Like, who cares? Like, why are our lives important?
pragmatic and statistical data on what constitutes as health and well-being, and we actually have measures for well-being in societies, and for how good a society actually is, which is what I brought up earlier. Is the most secular societies seem to have high rates of well-being, whereas the more Christian a society is, the least it tracks on those measures.
Yeah,
So we can get
we
in.
can definitely get into the studies. I don't have a problem getting into the studies because, like, my opening obviously was really short and I didn't quote a bunch of things specifically. But I do have an astronomical amount of actual studies that we can specifically read if we really wanted to do some armchair science. But the thing that I'm talking about regarding the harm principle, right, is that you say that it depends on whether or not that's something like on the principles of life is better than death. What were the other ones, Jed? I'm sorry that there was life
Health is better than
death.
sickness, joy is better than sadness, pleasure is better than pain.
Okay, so two.
Joy is better than sadness, but you don't realize that that's all subjective. What if it brings me joy to kill people? What if that makes me happy? Would you condone that? Because after all, I'm happier to go and kill than I'm not. It makes me sad when I can't kill. So why is that important? It makes me sad that if I commit crimes, I have to be locked in prison. That makes me sad. It doesn't make me happy. So why is the happiness more important than sadness? It's all subjective, and they don't realize that. They think it's just all objective, and it's not.
Those that I want to reference: joy is better than pain, and life is better than death. Right? These two specific things. Did I just freeze? Am I still here?
You are frozen, but you're
You're
here.
good. We can
Your
hear you.
audio
Sorry.
stays fine, but your camera freezes. every
Okay,
5 minutes.
sorry, my bad. I have bad internet. So those two principles specifically, right? Is that like a universal or like an objective principle that we're actually basing everything off of, like life being better than death, or is that just like something that's considered useful in like a pragmatic sense, kind of like what godless engineers said? Like, is it just pragmatic? Is it just useful?
When you say is it objective, what do you mean exactly?
Yeah. So like, is that standard something that would be considered independent, right, of the first human being, for example, stating that life is better than death, right? So like, if a man stands up one day and nobody else has ever said that statement in their life, and the man goes, life is better than death, and then everyone goes, oh, this dude's cooking, right? Like, does that actually, like, is it then therefore the case, or is there something that's external to human beings that actually makes that the case?
Well, I mean, I think we could say that it's external to humans in the sense that all life forms,
Moral
for the
principles
most
are
part,
external to
prefer
humans?
being alive, and that humans throughout our entire evolution, before we were even capable of speech, preferred life over death.
So the moral principle of life is better than death, which then constitutes the harm principle, is something that is external to human beings. Is that what you're saying?
It's developed through evolution, sure.
Developed through evolution, the thing that only determines survivability.
Well, we value survivability because people who value survivability tend to survive. And if you don't value your own life, you're just going to die and not reproduce. So in a
Why is
sense,
that
we could say
important?
nothing is objectively good or objectively bad. Ultimately, everything is subjective within morality because we're making judgments about actions.
Yeah. So then I guess in that case, like, because I'm trying to figure out like the overall whittled down principle down to the root. Are you then saying that evolution is the ultimate thing then that determines whether or not things are morally true or false?
Evolution ingrains an idea in our head. So evolution makes all
truth?
humans value life and pleasure and
What?
avoid suffering.
Evolution determines whether or not things are true or false, is what you're saying.
No,
I
that's
don't
not
think
what
I
he
said
said.
that. I think
No,
evolution.
you're
Said it
being
ingrains an
disingenuous right
idea.
now, Bryce.
He said that
No,
it
Bryce, you're
ingrained
being,
an
you're
idea
being,
Words.
Yeah.
that
right.
in our head that
You're being
determines whether or not
disingenuous,
these
Bryce.
things are the
You're
case.
What an idiot Jed is. That's the last debate I saw him in was the evolution one where he claims his cousin is a banana and George Floyd was an ape. Good old Jim Bob. Shout out to Jim Bob. But yeah, what's it called? So evolution just makes us evolve to value human life. It doesn't make any sense.
being disingenuous.
Right?
You're reframing what he said in a straw man fashion. So
No, I'm not.
Let me
He
try
said
to
that
read
there's
yours.
an
rephrase.
That's what you
idea
did.
in his head. Try it again, Jed.
Evolution ingrains
Sorry.
ideas in our head, like the promotion of survivability. It's true that we have the idea that survivability is good in our head because of evolution. But is it true that survivability is good? I would say that is a subjective assessment.
Okay, so so survivability is subjective then.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
so then
so
you're using
humans like
then you have
surviving.
yeah. So then a subjective principle is the thing that determines harm?
Well, if you don't survive, you die.
Brain
So then
breaking.
harm could play into that. If somebody harms you enough, then you could die and not survive. So then sure, we could say
Yeah.
that it's objective that harm could cause a limitation to survival.
Yeah, but the principle itself that you're saying constitutes harm is something that's like it's survivability. But you said whether or not survivability is good is subjective. So then again, the principle that you're using to determine things as good or bad is a subjective principle itself, survivability. You admitted that yourself.
Yeah, ultimately, everything that we value is
So,
subjective.
so harm is subjective.
Well, harm isn't subjective, but the fact that
principles
we
for
don't
harm
like
are not?
harm is subjective.
So the principles for harm are subjective, but harm itself is not.
Right. Like it's a fact of reality that if
Can I-
I stab you in the face,
Go ahead,
it's gonna cause you harm and be a detriment to your survival.
Is
But
there
it's subjective that I care about survival and limiting harm.
is there anybody who would actually hypothetically like to be stabbed in the face?
Maybe if you're getting some sort of surgery on your face and they have to stab a small portion of it to implant, I don't know, a plastic surgery into your face to give you a facelift or something. But in certain situations, we recognize that there's a risk reward factor. And then with consent, we can say, hey, if it's going to be better for my pleasure and well-being to have a small bit of harm that does me more good in the long run, then sure, we could say that's good. So it's situational.
So then that's
Well,
not the harm
when I-
principle.
Well, when I get a second, there's
Yeah, I mean, they say, well, that's objective. That's stabbing someone in the face. Yes. But then Wi-Fi Gospel brings up a situation where you might want like someone to stab you in the face. And then he's like, oh, well, sure. Like proving that it is subjective. that it does depend on the situation. It's not just objectively wrong, in their eyes anyway. Like getting plastic surgery or something, or maybe a necessary surgery, you would want like someone stabbing your face or cutting your face open, because that's for your benefit or your pleasure or what have you. I mean, what about people that cut themselves? That's objectively wrong, but they like doing it. And if they're happy from doing it, or if they get some kind of satisfaction from doing it, well, who are you to tell them under your secular humanism or secular ethics or whatever? Who are you to tell them that what they're doing is wrong? Like, how can you explain to them that, no, actually it's wrong that you do that? Let's see. I'm going to fast forward to 5043, grandma cucking. Huh? Oh, this should be interesting.
Secular humanism. Why would it be wrong if an old lady dies and she leaves in her will the ability for her grandchildren to sell her body, to rent out her body for sex, for a profit, so that they can make some money when she dies, because she wasn't able to leave them much?
I have actually given this topic a little thought in the past. I think
bet he
that
has.
and if we were justified in calling that kind of situation immoral, it would be because the act would elicit negative emotions from her family that she leaves behind. So like if she
Okay.
has a loved one who would feel emotionally scarred or have trauma based on the idea of their mom or their grandma, being
Here's the
defiled like
problem
that, then
with
we
that.
could call it immoral in that sense. But
Ye-
in this specific example,
Can I just answer
would
that
say
real quick?
it's not necessarily immoral if she consents to it, so long as she's not
Okay.
spreading diseases or anything like that.
All right. So just to answer you, if my family is super religious and we find it disgusting that two men can kiss each other and have sex, if one of our family members decides to do that and it brings us great pain and we're all very upset by this disgusting act, would that then be immoral?
It's not disgusting though. So,
I like how he's ready to jump in there, but that's not disgusting though. Like, man, he was quick to jump in on what is going on today. What is going on in the reviews today? First, you have Koner there, justifying, saying if you don't have women in the military, then the guys are all going to go gay. And then you have Godless Engineer here jumping in. Yeah, but that's not disgusting though. Like, whoa, what is going on today? Huh? What's in the water? Same thing that's turning the frogs gay? What is this?
It's a fair question, and I think I might
So if
even
the
backtrack
family
and just-
doesn't think it's disgusting, that's fine. Then it's fine.
I might just change my answer to your question about the grandma leaving her body to be used by other people. Say no, I've got no issues with that. If that's how she wants her body to be used, then she can go right ahead. And you can say, oh, that's icky, all you want, but there's lots of things that we find icky, like homosexuality, and that's between two consenting adults.
Yeah, so maybe talk to your grandmother and see what she can do. You can make some money doing that.
okay, this is
Now,
a
what
really
about
weird-
Jed had no answer for this, dude. I can't believe this dude just came out and said this. Yeah, well, we might think it's disgusting to have sex with dead grandmothers, but you know what? Hey, that if she consented to it, why not? Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! That is insane. All right. Let's see. Let's go to the death penalty in Irina Zarutska, 5321.
well deserving of the death penalty, and we can talk about that. But from your
kicking
standard,
sticks.
That's a nice gold cup Bryce got there.
from your standard, there's nothing wrong with the death penalty in secular humanism as long as it brings flourishing to a nation, which it very well could.
I'm
I don't
generally
think-
against the death penalty because I typically don't think our confidence level can ever be high enough to convict the right person, given the fact that we've convicted the wrong person many, many, many times in the past.
Would you
and
hold that
also
standard for
I
prison
would,
as well?
Hold on. Yeah, I think prison.
No, because prison's not finite, and you can
Prison's
still be
immoral.
exonerated after you're already in prison. But once
Prison's
you
immoral.
execute someone, it's over.
Well, right. I want to harken back to what we said.
This is
about-
the secularist morality scale, guys. Having sex with dead grandma, that's okay. Prison, that's immoral. Just let that sink in, guys. Open the door, let this sink in.
life being preferable to death. That would still be part of our framework. So like I'm against the death penalty. One, because yeah, we can't be certain, but also I value life over dead people.
Well, then you would value prisons and keeping people out of prisons,
Good to see
because
Raging
if
Beast
not,
here.
then people like Irina Zarutsky get killed on a train because people think prison is immoral.
You can get
No,
killed
no,
in
no,
prison.
no,
In
no.
fact, you're probably more likely to get killed in prison than you are out here.
So should
Yeah,
we
Right.
well,
abolish
Let me
prisons with that
clarify.
logic?
Well, yeah, of course you're more of course you're more likely to get killed in prison where you're locked up with a bunch of killers and criminals. So yeah, that makes sense. So you're saying that instead of locking them up all together where they could just have at it, you'd rather just have them out on the street where they could potentially just kill anyone they want, innocent people?
Let me clarify.
What an
I think our
idiot.
current prison system and our current way that we do things is immoral. I think that there are better ways that we can rehabilitate people, and I think that it's a real shitty thing for you to just bring up random, current, contemporary, topics into
in a
this
debate on
discussion.
ethics.
Well, what at what point is that part of
Didn't you bring up a
Christian
bunch of
ethics?
situations of people doing terrible things
policies
to their children to try to make a
That
point for
was
your case?
directly related to Christian
and
ethics.
this is
I don't
directly
see- I don't
related to
see how the
yours.
bus-
It's a
how-
false
no,
notion
how-
of
You said
Christian
prisons
ethics.
are immoral. The policies that
I
let
believe
the
that.
man who killed Irina out of prison
Idiot.
when he should have been in prison come from thinking like that.
Yeah.
No, see, my thinking is about reforming the prison system so that we actually rehabilitate people and not just let people out of prison or let people out without rehabilitation. So no, it's not actually representative of my position at all.
How should we rehabilitate child molesters? I'm just curious, like in your view. Like how
Chop
should
their
I mean,
balls
I'm
off.
not an expert in this particular area, so I don't know, but I
Well, 'cause
do
you said
know that
prisons are
there can
immoral,
be.
so-
Right. And I no, I said our current prison system is immoral. The way that
Mhm.
we implement our prison system is immoral. So I would suggest some kind of rehabilitation thing, therapy, something along those lines.
And let them
So,
still live in
but
society while they're having that therapy?
I I'm not an expert in this. I wouldn't think that you would allow somebody in that particular situation to do it. But as far as
It's
I
called
understand,
prison.
since we're bringing up random fucking things from the contemporary space here, you've got several high
Incoming Bible verse
profile
again.
people. No, we got several high profile people in Washington, D.C. that have been fucking kids for years, but yet the Republicans, they will not release the Epstein.
Oh gosh. I love how the left and these people like they all of a sudden care about the Epstein files. When Joe Biden was president and stuff, no one gave a shit about the Epstein files. They didn't care. But now that Trump might be on it, then all of a sudden, well, because it's about Orange Man being bad, right? Orange Man bad. All of a sudden, they're all about the Epstein files. All of a sudden, look who started to care about the Epstein files. So stupid. All right, I'm gonna go to this last part. I think this will be the final part. There's a lot here. Wi-Fi Gospel sent me a lot of the timestamps, so um, he might clip it for his own channel, so check it out. But let's see here. I'm gonna go where he's talking about Charlie Kirk and transgenderism, and then I think Godless Engineer judges them as like, I'm never gonna share a screen with you guys again.
Mercy, justice. But what we're seeing in defense of Charlie Kirk isn't Christian ethics. It's partisan tribalism dressed up in faith. I don't know how much y'all want to touch on that specific topic, though.
And it sucks. It sucks that he died, but I'm not really sure what they mean by defense of Charlie Kirk. Like,
Yeah. Honestly,
The
you think Charlie?
whitewashing of Charlie Kirk's history and bigotry.
Yeah, if you think
whitewashing?
Charlie Kirk was bad, you have no
Charlie
fucking
Kirk
clue
was
what's
a
coming.
racist,
No clue.
sexist, fascist, homophobic,
See,
transphobe.
when you call Charlie
was a
Kirk
horrible
those
person.
things,
Did he harm
the
people?
words are void of meaning. So when someone who's actually a racist, fascist, sexist Nazi comes along, you're gonna not think anything different than Charlie Kirk. Really? That's insane.
Because he
No,
was those
Charlie
things.
Kirk-
I
Was
never
Charlie
met
bad?
him.
Was Charlie bad because he committed harm? Is that what makes him bad? Did he harm
think
people?
that he
I would say
spread
he was
harmful
bad because
ideas.
he spread
Okay.
toxic ideas.
So speech can be harmful.
I didn't say that. I said he was bad because
So
he
why is it
spread
bad then
toxic
if it's not
ideas.
harmful?
Yeah.
Well, the ideas that he's spreading could encourage people to commit harm to others.
So is the speech harm?
The speech itself isn't harm, but he's encouraging harm.
Okay, so he's
I love this this argument of Charlie Kirk. His speech could or did encourage harm, but yet name me a single person who's killed because of things that Charlie Kirk said. Meanwhile, when we say the left are violent because look, your rhetoric has led to Charlie Kirk being killed, all of a sudden it's like, well, wait a minute, guys, wait, that doesn't mean anything. Wait a minute.
encouraging harm
So,
with
like, for
non-harmful
example,
speech.
Charlie Kirk said if any doctor gives trans-affirming care to an individual, they should be publicly executed.
Oh,
So
my
he's calling for the
goodness.
harm of others. So the speech itself isn't necessarily causing anyone harm, but he's encouraging harm with his speech.
Yeah, so name one doctor that's been murdered because of that statement from Charlie Kirk. Name one, Jed. Name one.
I'll say I have no idea like when he said that. So Wi-Fi, you looked like you wanted to say something against that, but
Yeah, and also too, I mean, yeah, of course, to Jed here in his secular ethics, mutilating a child is okay as long as it's some kind of gay rights thing or something or trans rights thing.
Well, I'm just saying that if somebody
if he says that, that's terrible. I mean,
If somebody-
Good, I'm
I didn't
glad you
watch,
agree.
I didn't watch him, so
I think that somebody who chops off another man's penis and calls that affirming care probably should be publicly executed. Yeah.
Jesus Christ,
Wow.
you're a shitty fucking human being. You know that Wi-Fi? I
And
never
you
Dude, so you're a shitty human being. Wi-Fi doesn't want kids to get mutilated, but he's the shitty human being. That's the warped, see, that's the warped morality from these secularists here. And by the way, does Godless Engineer's wife just sit off camera and just listen in onto his debates? Can we get Jim Bomb in here to tell him to shut his wife up?
would fuck a
realized
dead
how
grandmother
shitty-
for money.
I did not make.
Yeah.
that
Oh, you just
argument.
wouldn't
Neither
condemn
of us
anybody
said
for
we
such.
would do that.
Mutilating
We
another
said we
man
have
is
no
pretty
you just wouldn't
necessarily
condemn
issue with
anybody
someone else
for
doing
it.
it.
Mutilating
'Cause
another man is
ev-
pretty evil, unless obviously they
Only
consent
if
to
they don't
mutilation.
want it. If
Yeah,
you're
yeah, and-
mutilating someone against their consent, then it's immoral. But if
the
they're
emotional
saying,
outburst-
There's the same- there's the same-
Mutilation,
I
you
love
fucking
that.
bigoted
I
pieces
love
of
that.
shit.
I love that, Jed. I love
Coming
that,
from the
Jed.
people
Christians
who
don't
say
care
the
about
same
outlawed
thing.
the murder of
That's the
children
whole
in the
thing.
millions.
Christianity
would you say the
doesn't
same
care about
thing?
consent one bit.
I will.
Jed,
I will
would you say
never
the
be
same
on
thing
screen with
about
either
people
Wi-Fi or
arms
Bryce ever
or
again.
legs?
Yeah,
Would you say
virtue
the same thing
signals
about
from
arms
there.
and eggs? You know,
If-
clutch your
if you-
pearls.
if
This is
someone
coming from the
goes to
same dude who
doctor-
won't debate on anybody
Jed,
anybody
go ahead,
else's
Jed.
platform.
I'm actually
until he gets his
really
feelings
enjoying
hurt.
talking to Jed. Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. To answer Bryce's question, would I be morally opposed to someone going to a doctor and asking them, could you remove my arm, please?
No,
I don't
all
think the
my arm's
doctor
and
should
legs.
get in trouble for removing the arm, but I think maybe the doctor should encourage them or, ask some questions like, why? Is there something wrong with your arm? Do you not want it anymore?
Like, no.
What's the reason?
I feel like that I should be a cripple.
Well, what's the good reason though? What's the good reason that you could supply that would be good enough for you, Jed? So if the guy just came and just said, yeah, I don't want my arm no more. I'm kind of tired of it. Don't like it. Don't like my arm. Well, I mean, is that a good enough reason for a doctor to be like, oh, okay, well then get right on the table. Let's get that arm chopped off stat. Like, what would be make it? What excuse could someone give to wanting to chop their arm off that would be morally acceptable? You know what I mean? This is the type of stuff I was talking about. I was talking about this debate the other day and how wild it was. These two people. This is the secular ethics coming into play, and they think meanwhile, Wi-Fi gospel and Bryce over here are the horrible people, the bigots and what have you. Meanwhile, look at the shit that they believe in. Banging dead grandma, morally correct as long as grandma said it was okay before she died. But prisons are immoral and evil. Mutilating kids, transing kids, doctors doing that's a-okay in their books. Like, these people, this is where we're supposed to get our morality from. Secularists here, this is where we're supposed to get our morality from. Oh, but the Bible's evil, because we take a bunch of shit out of context and we judge God and shit. It's so wild. Thank you very much, Wi-Fi, for supplying me with the timestamps. And also, good job, Wi-Fi Gospel and Bryce. If you want to see the full debate, I'll have the link down below. It is on Wi-Fi's channel. Also, make sure you sub to Wi-Fi Gospel and Bryce J. They did a really good job. And let us see what else. Oh, yeah. And also, too, make sure you give this video a like. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. And also, if you like more content like this, I got much more on my channel that I think you'll enjoy.